Não, não, não. Opa, já tem gente. Pré-live por enquanto. Fala, galera. No ar. É isso aí. Por enquanto, aquela pré-live, boa noite. 9 horas a gente começa nossa edição mais que especial do Cheesecast. Vamos entrando aí. Salve, salve. Daqui a pouco o Bez entra aí. Dá aquela divulgada já. Alessios Billy Turner Pro. Cara, Billy Turner, uma coisa engraçada, né? O Billy Turner não foi um downgrade pro Bulaga de right tackle. E o Lucas Patrick foi um upgrade do Billy Turner de right guard, né? Então, tipo assim, tá melhor do lado direito da linha do que ano passado. Muito louco, cara. Tudo bem que o sistema do LaFleur ajuda a linha ofensiva também, mas que isso. Muito louco. Lucas Patrick, entre os right guards em pass rate, ele é o 10º melhor, né? Pra um cara que foi reserva a vida toda, ainda mais era reserva de center. Porra. Então, muito bom, muito bom. Vamos entrando aí, galera, pra gente se aquecendo, já que 9 horas começa a coisa. Daqui a pouco o Bez entra aqui. Enquanto isso, eu faço pré sozinho aqui. Isso, ele era assim, ele jogou mais como center no college. O Lucas. Lucas Patrick. Sempre que entrou pra jogar ali, ele foi bem, mas virar titular, né? Ele não ia ser o Lane Taylor. Jogou alguns snaps só. Cadê o Bess que precisa me... O nosso técnico, o técnico de ofensiva, o Adam Stevanich, ele também é careca, meu. Todos, tirando o Matt LaFleur, todo mundo careca no front office do... Muito doido. Muito engraçado também, curiosidades, hein? Também. Deixa eu... Pra deixar claro a galera que tá vindo ver a primeira vez, porque senão a gente tá falando aqui que vai ser com o Tom não tá aqui. É o que eu tô... Isso aí. A gente vai também, vou dar uma comentada. Lazard acabará com Adams dependência. Caramba, olha isso aqui. Olha isso. Não. Alguém print isso aqui. Nem entrou, já mandou um putz, que é isso? Cara, é uma figura, mano. Pergunta se ele brigou com a esposa dele. E aí, Bess?
E aí, cara, tranquilo?
Ô, ó o que o Tom já comentou aqui, nem começou ainda lá, ó.
Isso vai ser ótimo. Tá me ouvindo bem aí, cara?
Tô bom, tá? O meu áudio tá bom?
Tá bom, tranquilo. Galera já tá chegando aí?
Já tem 15 pessoas já. Eu começo às 9, né? Quando dá 9, geralmente a maioria chega já.
Massa. Pô, vai ser histórico, mais um histórico aí pro Cheesecast, né, meu? Pô, sensacional.
O Big Boss tá falando pra gente levantar o ânimo.
O que ele quer que eu comece a dançar lambada aqui?
Que eu não sei.
Dançar axé?
No chat, já vai respondendo o Tom aí, ó, que ele mandou no... Mostra pra ele aqui que...
Pô, que se o Matheus quer que eu dance axé, eu danço, não tem problema.
O cara é querido.
Não tem problema nenhum, Matheus. Se quiser, eu danço lambada aqui, cara. Tudo certo. Cara, pô, é muito bacana, né? Ele é na verdade, esse cara, tipo, Packers doente, mas a parte de comédia dele fora do Packers também é muito boa, né?
Sim, ele é comediante, né?
Ele é comediante e torcedor do Packers, né? Tipo, ele não é um especialista do Packers, assim, mas ele, tipo, é muito doente, dá pra ver. Tanto é que tudo começou através do Packers, né? Mas o canal dele, não além do Packcast, que é muito bom, mas aqueles sketches que ele faz, né, cara? Tipo, NFL Bad Stories é muito bom também.
É muito bom. Os reacts também da semana, cara.
Cara, tem o filho que não torce pro Packers, que é o filho bastardo, que não é filho.
É humor meio físico, né? Lembra? Tipo, eu curto pra caramba.
É engraçado, cara, é engraçado. Até o que ele fez também do Jordan Love depois, né? Que acho que foi um dos últimos que ele fez desse NFL Bad Stories aí. Foi muito bom, cara. Tipo, o filho lá se arriando. Conta agora a parte que eu mais gosto. Agora, aquela minha parte preferida. Que o Packers subiu. Quem? Patrick Queen. Michael Pittman. Não. Jordan Love.
Pô.
Muito bom, cara. Muito bom. Muito bom.
O Thiago aqui comentou que é o melhor recebedor disponível. Ele fez um sketch também, fazendo tipo um teste dele, uma fita de audição dele para recebedor dos Packers.
Muito bom, cara. Muito bom, velho. O cara é muito genial.
That was the best I got. It didn't. Relax.
Eu vou até ali pegar uma cervejinha para abrir aqui, cara. Tomar uma essa merece tomar. Daqui a pouco eu vou esperar um pouquinho mais, senão vai esquentar.
Tá, 5 minutos a gente começa. Ó, galera, pra quem já tá aqui, Vai dar 9 horas, a gente vai fazer a aberturinha. Eu vou convidar a hora que ele entrar, vai ter tipo um segundinho para ficar mais fácil para editar depois. E a gente já começa. E tipo assim, a gente tem a nossa pauta, tal, vamos bater um papo, vai ser uma entrevista meio conversa, aí a galera do Superchat a gente coloca já a pergunta em cima na hora. Aí mais para frente, se ele tiver disponibilidade, aí a gente pode abrir mais, mas para ter a nossa ajuda também, né? A gente ganhar um pouquinho em cima. O cara é muito gente boa, ele foi muito solícito desde da primeira mensagem que eu troquei com ele, assim, cara, foi
Porra,
sensacional.
de novo eu tô com cabelo hoje aqui, cara. Ó, cabelinho aqui, ó.
Ah, você tá
Ai,
com o negócio do Nino agora, parece mais o Nino agora, porque tá o negocinho pra cima ali, ó.
isso aqui, ó. Hoje eu não tô cebolinha, é um outro quadro aqui. Quadro.
Você falou do negócio que tudo começou com o Pequet, ele era professor. Tipo, ele largou pra ser professor faz um ano, assim, mais ou menos, pra viver só do Pequest, né?
Pô, bacana, cara. Bacana.
Eu não lembro muito bem do que ele era professor, mas ele era
Eu também não lembro, mas também pra perguntar, né? Vamos
é,
perguntar. Maravilha, maravilha.
ele
Agora eu vou. Hã?
botou aqui, live in 5, ele tá bem animado, mano.
Pô, acompanhar um comediante não vai ser fácil, hein? Que missão é que a gente tá hoje, hein, João? Porra. Em inglês ainda. E olha que eu sou fã, cara. Eu sou fã de stand-up americano. Pô, eu sou fã de Seinfeld. Caramba, já fui em show do Seinfeld. E, cara, acho muito bacana essa parte dessa parte de comédia americana de stand-up. Chris Rock, essa turma toda aí. Ed Murphy, Dave Chappelle. Pô, turma muito boa, cara. Eu
O
sou
cara,
viciado.
ele é meio famoso, ele tem um vídeo muito famoso, mas eu assisti mais sketch dele, como é que era o nome? É um tiozinho, você deve conhecer, ele já faleceu, infelizmente.
Cara, tem vários antigos, tipo o Dangerfield, o Dan Rickles. Daí tem os mais famosos, tipo o Robin Williams, que faleceu há pouco tempo aí, né? Que também era rei do
Não,
stand-up.
sim,
O
sensacional.
Jim Carrey é do stand-up também. O, o Steve Martin é do stand-up também, né? Começou no stand-up, famoso Steve Martin. Tem uma
Isso.
turma aí, cara. Tem uma turma forte aí. Deixa eu agora pegar ali a serva, já vou voltar aí. Pera
Vai
aí.
lá, vai lá, vai
Agora
lá.
vai começar.
Ah, vamos entrando aí, galera. Era Jerry Lewis? Não sei se era Jerry Lewis. Não era. Ah, eu não lembro o nome do tiozinho. Os cara... Pra quem tá vendo o chat aí, no Twitter, o cara, no Twitter, quando a gente fez, quando ele compartilhou, quando ele deu RT na nossa imagem de divulgação lá, teve umas pessoas indo falar é, Spanish, aí eu não sei se o Arvo aqui, ele tá zoando ou não, tipo, Tom sabe falar espanhol, português. Bom, Tom, você vai ter que falar umas palavras em português aí, mas meteu uma que estudou. Ai, ai. Deixa eu já. Ah! Caramba, o cara já tá sendo isso aí antes de entrar, meu. Vai ser difícil acompanhar. Vamos lá, vamos lá. Eu vou dar o meu melhor. Ó, mensagem do Big Boss aqui, ó. É isso aí. Que eu falei, se ele tiver tempo depois, disponibilidade da pauta terminar e tudo, ele não falou muito bem quanto tempo ele ia ter, aí a gente libera pra geral, mas. Ó, o Bezo, ele nem entrou, ele já tá causando, meu.
O que ele fez aí?
Mandou um Dora the Explorer has not prepared me for this.
Muito bom, cara. Muito bom. Vamos ver se nós estamos preparados também, né, para aguentar essa fera aí.
Eu falei, vou dar o meu melhor para acompanhar aqui o cara, mas é isso aí.
Vamos lá. Tá na hora, né? 9 horinhas.
Tom speak Spanish. Vou mandar o convite para ele, vou botar os 30 segundinhos. E a gente começa. Tá, vamos lá aqui. Pum. Hi, Tom.
What's going on, folks?
What's up, man?
How we doing?
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
We are fantastic, believe me.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I know. It's, I wish you got a better guess. This is not so good.
Come on, man.
Better than you?
Tom freaking fracking Grossi, baby.
Did you like it?
That's it. Now, this is the best podcast I've ever been on now. Look at that. I get my own little banner. That's it.
So, can we start?
Absolutely.
We already started.
3, 2, 1. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. We are here with another episode of Cheesecast. I'm your host, João, not Tom, because Tom is actually the guest today. He's our honor guest. I'm João Carlos. We have Guilherme Beza, and of course, Tom fracking Grossi. How are you, man?
I am so great, and that was the greatest introduction. I don't think I've actually heard someone do my intro before, and that was a very surreal moment that just made me very, very happy. So thank you for that. That was fantastic.
I am thankful for that. Believe me.
That was something. That was good. That got me right in the feels. That was good.
I am emotional right now. Really. I'm feeling emotional right now.
That was awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Really excited to do this pod. I'm glad that we can make it work. And, if Aaron Nagler is coming on this, then I was like, whoa, I gotta come on, and I can't let him show me up. So
he was our first guest, and now you are the second. As great as he is. Believe me.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, I get it. Second guest, okay.
No, all right. Have you been playing Madden with him?
A lot of people have asked me to replay him in Madden, and I'm planning on doing it in the off season after football's done for the season, because during the regular season things are crazy, and plus I have not picked up a PlayStation controller in about 3 months, so I'm a bit rusty. Rusty right now.
Okay, so Tom, to start with our conversation, our interview, let's start for the beginning, of course. So how, when, where, why did you become a Packers fan? Your father, Papa Grossi, is a Dallas Cowboy. And we don't know when, how, it was your experience as a kid, as a teenager. I don't know. It's up to you now.
Yeah. So I grew up in New York. And if you don't know, there are not a lot of Packers fans in New York. There are not a lot. And my dad, Papa Grossi, yes, he is a diehard Cowboys fan. And ever since I was born, he was trying to just make me a Cowboys fan. And I was looking around and I was like, this is garbage. I don't want this. And I don't want to become a Giants fan because that's even worse. And then a Jets fan, I ain't touching that. So what happened was I went into school, and I think it was I thought it was always 5th grade. That's how I always told the story. It might have been like 2nd or 3rd grade, though, because I think I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I heard that the Packers beat the Cowboys. And so I went home and I told my dad, I was like, I'm a Packers fan now. And I just did that for 24 years and just never gave it up. And of course, when I became a fan, That was the year they went to Super Bowl 32 and lost. They won the Super Bowl right before that, but I wasn't a fan because I wasn't really watching football. And so, I didn't get to experience that Super Bowl win, but we got it in 2010, so that was all that mattered.
So it started like a provocation, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that story, by the way, inspire you to do the NFL bedtime story, like father and son? or
The NFL bedtime stories, that started, it wasn't this past Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl before that. And like, it was honestly one of those things that just like was like racking around my brain. And I was like, it'd be a fun video. Like, let me tell it like as a bedtime story and make everything rhyme. And that was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But we did it, and people loved them. People were like, "Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you." And so I haven't done any in a while, but keep an eye out. We'll get back to doing them.
You should do it. You should do more of them. It's really, really good.
I'll once I get some free time again, we'll try and get that done.
And Tom, how the idea to create a YouTube channel with NFL sketches was conceived, and afterwards the Cheesecast come to?
Yeah, so the first time, it's one of the darkest moments in Packers history, but it's the only reason why this show is a thing, was after the Packers lost in the NFC Championship game to the Seahawks, devastatingly.
You're right. Reaction.
Yep, I put out that reaction video, which was like, it wasn't a real reaction, but when I saw it, I was in New York City. I didn't even get to watch the game until the very end because my wife took me to a play, and it just so happened to be scheduled on the NFC Championship game, and I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" So we watched the play. There's a guy with a Marshawn Lynch jersey in front of me. And I'm kind of paying attention to the play, but I'm constantly refreshing my phone. And I see that the Packers are just winning the entire game. And I was like, this is amazing. We get out of the play and it's the fourth quarter and we decide to go to a bar. And I was like, I'm going to watch my Packers go to the Super Bowl. And then those next 15, 20 minutes was just so depressing. And I don't think I said a single word on the train ride home. And I just sat there and was like, that was probably the worst loss I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot of bad losses. And I was like, you know what? All the things that went wrong, it's almost funny, how many things had to go wrong. And so I made this little, on my couch with my crappy little camcorder, I made a reaction video to it. And, it kind of took off. And I was like, whoa. And a lot of people started reaching out and it got posted everywhere. And that kind of gave me the idea to do the podcast. I did a couple skits right after that of reaction videos. But I started doing a podcast because, a lot of people do podcasts, right? I'm on one right now. A lot of people have them. And if I was going to do one, I wanted to make it different. I wanted to bring on fans from the opposing teams to talk about the matchups. And I thought that would be a lot of fun. It would allow me to learn about other teams and fan bases and all that great stuff. And that's something that's been part of the show that has gone on now for nearly 6 years. And, then it just evolved from, I did that for 2 years, which was basically just audio, started putting stuff on YouTube more and more. And, here we are.
So it started with a tragedy, right?
Yep. Yep.
I watched this game at a bar too. And after riding home inside the car, I was devastated. I couldn't believe, especially after the onside kick thing.
Oh.
I guess
I cry like a child in my fiance's shoulders. So
yeah, it was literally heartbreaking. It was one of those things that I got so excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're gonna go to another Super Bowl. We were gonna see Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl. And they blew it. And it just, it's one of those things that I find so ironic that one of the worst moments in Packers history, I wouldn't be doing this without it. And so I have to tip my hat a little bit to that. I'm not happy about it still, but it allowed me to do this.
Yeah. So Tom, as you can see, you are a comedian, right? And the humor, the comedy is inside all of your videos and projects. So how comedy was inserted on your life? How did you become like this guy who works with comedy? It was hard to find the right balance between humor and like opinion, information on your videos, YouTube channel and podcast.
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I think that what has allowed me to be like moderately successful was that there's such a variety and diversity of stuff that I do, right? Like there are like the reaction videos. Ain't nothing about that's informative. No one's watching that and being like, "Oh, what is his thoughts on the stats?" That we're not talking about stats in any of those. But I think like, the reaction video is like full blown on that spectrum of like all the way over for comedy. And then, you look at some of my other videos, like sometimes the interviews that I do with people, like sometimes those are very analytical, like they're very like by the numbers. We're talking about schemes and formations and things.
Yes.
And I think for, when it's just the one-on-one videos where it's just me, talking to the camera, I think that everybody nowadays has a sports show. Like there's so many people that are making content that do that. And, I know my strengths as a creator is not like full blown analytics. Like I'll go and I'll watch tape and like I'll give my opinion on stuff. But I think that what makes this somewhat unique is that like there is that in like that little bit of comedy to it, in which like I do try to throw one-liners in there. I do try to throw jokes in there. And I think it also makes it more digestible. I think a lot of people who are maybe intimidated by the game of football, if they've never heard, like they don't know the rules, they don't know how it works. I think, and I know this because people have reached out to me. I think it makes it a little bit more approachable of like, oh, okay, like, let's do this. And at the same time, one of the things that has been really popular on the channel are the play-by-plays, like when I'm streaming the game, and watching the game and reacting to the game live. And I think like there's such a market and such a need that you can watch, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on TV. And like, they're not bad, they're fine. But I think to like watch it with a fan, there's such like a need for that. I mean, there's Green Bay Packers fans, obviously worldwide. They're all over the place. And I think that, a way to kind of like come together and it's like you're watching it with other fans is a really cool experience. So I think if you're able to combine all these different things, people can just watch the reaction videos. They can just watch the predictions videos. They can just watch the stat videos. And I think, what my channel is kind of offering them is whatever they're into, like there's a place for you.
Less numbers, more words, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You are a stand-up comedian too, right, Tom?
Yes.
In 2018, you released Allergic to Fun.
I did.
Your first DVD, and it's really nice. How is that experience for you? How been working out for it?
Yeah, it was really cool. I think, when I started doing comedy, and it wasn't even stand-up first in college, I was doing improv comedy, like very like whose line is it anyway, doing it with a group of people. And I really, really loved that. And it was a lot of fun. And when I got out of school, there really wasn't a way for me to do that unless I was like commuting into the city, and like that was extremely expensive. And I just didn't have time to do that every single day. So it then turned into stand-up. And when I started doing stand-up, I really kind of enjoyed it and got into it. And like the art of like crafting a joke and like getting up and bombing in front of people and doing terrible. Like that was a thing that kind of gives you some thicker skin, because that happened plenty of times. I mean, that still happens. Like, listen, I think it's just when I put out the album, I was still like relatively new in comedy, because it's funny, I started doing Packcast, I started teaching, and I started doing stand-up all at the same time. Like it was all in the same year. So like in 2015. So when I put the album out, that was kind of only 3 years in, and usually people wait a lot longer for that. But it was one of those things that like I felt comfortable with the material. I thought it was good enough. And it was cool to have something physical. It was something cool to say like, this is all the stuff that I did. Here it is. Like it's on a CD now. It's on the internet, and it was a cool milestone to have.
I loved your deer joke, so it's nice.
That's usually one of the favorites. That's usually one of.
So Tom, tell us about it. You recorded 2 segments for the Sunday Night Football, right?
Yes.
2 different years. So tell us about it. How was it? How did you receive the invitation? It was because of podcast. How did this work for you?
Yeah. So the first time was in 2018 for the Vikings Packers Sunday Night Football game. And honestly, like, it was crazy that it even happened. It was the week of Thanksgiving, and I literally just got home from the city. I recorded an episode of Packcast in a Vikings bar with a Vikings fan, and it was a lot of fun. It was. I got a lot of weird looks, but it was a lot of fun. And I got home, and like, my phone must have not synced or updated or what have you. But when I got home, I had a message from an assistant to an executive producer of NBC Sports. And they said that, my boss is interested in potentially doing a skit for Sunday Night Football. Could you hop on the phone? Would you be interested? And I'm just like what? Like what? Like that? I was like, how is this fake? Like, someone's trying to get my social security number, my bank accounts. There's no way that this is going to happen. Because in 2018, like, I was not big by any means, like in any means, shape, or form. I mean, we have grown a tremendous amount, especially this year. But back in 2018, it really wasn't a lot. We were doing stuff on YouTube pretty consistently, but it was nowhere near where we were. And it just so happened that this executive producer had an idea, saw me on YouTube because he was looking up like Packers stuff, and just found me. And I got on the phone with him, and this was on Wednesday. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I spoke to him. By Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, NBC was at my house with a film crew, and we shot for hours. And that wound up being the first one. And it was such a cool experience. And like, I don't know, like, if you've seen the actual like replay of it, my name is like a tiny little dot in the corner, and it flashes for like a second. I didn't care. Like, I didn't get paid for that. Like, I didn't care at all, because I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And when that happened, like, there was a part of me that was like, okay, Tom, you're not going to get like super famous now or anything like that. But like, but there was also another part of me that I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I'm going to be able to quit my job. I'm going to be able to go, like, here we go, Hollywood, I made it. That did not happen. we got like a couple hundred subscribers out of that, and that was it. But it was a really, really cool experience. And then this last one, the same guy reached out to me and said, like, we have an idea. We have an original idea that wouldn't involve you, but there's potential that might fall through. Would you be able to do something? And I was like, of course. So I wound up filming on Saturday, the day before that Sunday Night Football game against the Saints. And the camera crew didn't even come. Like, I literally just like Skyped with the guy, and I recorded everything myself with my own, because now I have like equipment. I don't have a camcorder anymore. So I was able to record everything myself, and I wound up just sending it to him. And I think it came out pretty good. And my name was up there for a little bit more than a second now too. So yeah, it was a really, really cool experience, and I was super grateful for it.
Nice.
Really nice. And Tom, talking about the Packers history and all your favorite players, can you name your three favorite players of all time, and why you like them so much?
Yeah. Nowadays is a little bit more controversial, but like, I grew up with Brett Favre. Brett Favre was my guy. Like, in the 90s, I mean, just the toughness that he had, the joy he had for the game. He looked like a big kid, and as, a 6-year-old kid getting into football, I watched that, and it just amazed me, everything that he did. Like, I still have very vivid memories of watching the Raiders game, like after his father passed away, and going in and destroying the Raiders on a primetime game. Like, I remember that kind of stuff. So like, Favre, he went to the Vikings, and all that stuff, but he's still one of my top guys. He just has to be. Then of course you have Aaron Rodgers, who's just like the most gifted QB that I have ever been a fan of. Then you got guys like Patrick Mahomes or whatever, but like, Aaron Rodgers does amazing things. And I think what I appreciate the most about him is the guy is super intelligent, but the way that he handled that transition, which was not easy for him, like just like that really stuck out to me. And I was like, this is a guy I want to root for. And the guy was really, really good at football. So that also helped. And then for number 3, I mean, then you start getting into a toss up. It's usually going to be like a wide receiver. Like I love Donald Driver. I love Randall Cobb. Jordy Nelson's up there too. If I had to like pick one, if it's not Donald Driver, it'd probably be Randall Cobb, just because the moments that I associate with him of like, you know, beating the Bears over and over again and just like the amazing plays, like that just kind of sticks out to me. And it was like, yeah, I like, he's one of the few guys that like, I have a Brett Favre jersey upstairs. I have an Aaron Rodgers jersey upstairs. I have my own jersey upstairs, and then I have a Randall Cobb jersey like that. Like he's one of those guys that like I absolutely love. I wish him nothing but the best. You know, he's a great player.
Great. I love the Randall Cobb too. I still love him, even though seeing him play on the Texans.
That's fine. That's fine. You know what? He's making a lot of money, so good for him.
So, Tom, can Jordan Love play receiver?
I want Jordan Love to play defensive tackle. I want him to play on the defensive line before he plays wide receiver. Because listen, we're gonna get the Lizard back. You know, we're gonna get Alan Lazard back. Yeah, no, I want Jordan Love to play. I want him to stop the run. That's what I would like him to do.
Now, can you tell us the insights on your sleeping night the day after Jordan Love was picked? That night after the first.
Your reaction was like awesome. I laughed so hard watching that.
Perfect, man.
and of course, that was my most popular video I ever put. Like that was like a 5-hour stream, and I was up at like 2:00 in the morning because I did the stream. Then I did like the post game. I talked about the Jordan Love pick, and then I was like, you know what? Let me clip out that like 2 minutes of like that. And of course that shoots up and goes viral. And I'm like, of course, out of all the things that is going to go viral, you know, I here's the thing. We picked him and I wasn't like overly surprised, but I did not expect us to trade up for him. When we traded, I was like, oh, we're getting a wide receiver. We're getting a defensive, like we're getting like some big player. I was like, oh, okay, that's what's going to happen. When we traded for him and then they said Jordan Love, I was like, oh, what? Like, I was like what? If he fell to us, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then just like what happened, because here's the thing. There were a lot of very angry people like the rest of that night. Like Packers Twitter exploded. Like it was probably like some of the worst I've ever seen. And it was my job to calm people down and be like, it's okay. We have the rest of the draft. And then they still didn't draft a wide receiver. So like at that point, I'm like, I give up. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. We went for a running back in the second round. I don't know. I
believe the exact words were, are you shitting me? Yes, you said that 4 times before you scream. 4 times, I think.
Yeah. I'm glad that bundle of clothes was there so I could properly scream into, because like at that point I was like, I don't even know what you do. And again, you know, I understand the pick. I don't hate the pick in terms of Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love has a lot of potential. I get it. The thing that you start then wondering is, okay, but Aaron Rodgers has been playing incredibly well. And on top of that, he has years left in his contract. So at some point there's going to be a tipping point in which, you know, Aaron Rodgers is not the starter of the Green Bay Packers anymore. And it seems like it's not going to be, you know, like, oh, he retired. He's going to get forced out, which, you know, I feel a whole bunch of different feelings about that.
The trade up was misleading, right? That was the punch. The trade up. I thought it would be Patrick Quinn. For me, it was clear.
Yes.
The 49ers selected Brandon Ayuk. The Ravens are after that. So, okay, Patrick Quinn, trade up. Makes sense. And after that, the other day, AJ Dillon. Come on.
Yeah.
Again, fixing the peak. I always thought to make it better than the draft specialists ranking him, but really, running back. But okay.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, listen, a lot of people crapped all over the Packers draft. They said it was terrible, right? Nobody knows. No, not a single person on this planet has any idea, because you're going to have to wait 3 years to see any of these guys actually develop. And again, I don't hate any of the picks. And, with Aaron, I love Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is one of the top running backs in the NFL right now. I don't know if we're going to be able to afford him. You have so many free agents next year with David Bakhtiari, Corey Linsley, Kevin King, Jamal Williams, and Aaron Jones. We're not going to be able to keep all these people. And so I get it, of like, you're getting insurance in case Aaron Jones, prices himself out of Green Bay. But at the same time, this definitely seemed like a good chunk of the draft could help this year, but it was going to help in ways that either, one, were not expected or arguably needed for this year, because they didn't really start filling holes until they drafted Kamal Martin in the 5th round. And that's where I was like, okay, you got your inside linebacker. It's a 5th rounder, but that's kind of the best that they got. They obviously didn't address receiver, but the offense has looked good. The bigger thing is like, that defensive line, because Kenny Clark can't do it all.
I remember now picturing your reaction again, and man, always cracks me up.
This is the place.
We have the same reaction in our annual live draft we have here in Cheeseheads Brasil. So our host Mateus, when they said it was Jordan Love, he freaking out too. So I was like, "Oh, full of shit! No, no! You kidding me?"
I think a lot of Packers fans. a lot of Packers fans, I think, felt that way on night one.
Yes. And talking about this year team, what is your faith about? Are we getting back to the Super Bowl? Like you're excited? What are you seeing? Or you're afraid about our defense play? You're concerned about that? What are your thoughts about our team this year?
Yeah, I think, what this year has shown, we're heading into week 10, and, it alters every single week, right? Like looks like there's teams that are unstoppable, like the Buccaneers, right? The Buccaneers absolutely destroy us. They then have a very close game with the Giants, and then they get destroyed by the Saints, a team that we beat on Sunday Night Football.
Without Adams.
I'm okay with that. I was totally okay with watching Tom Brady get destroyed. I was very, very okay with that. Yes, without Devontae Adams too. Yeah, that's a great point. And, I was thought about that, and I was like, okay, so maybe it's not the Buccaneers. You look at the Seahawks, who are playing very well. Their defense is on target to be one of the worst defenses of all time. Like, it's literally, it's almost there. So their defense is terrible. They got spanked by the Bills. You look at the Saints, who have won 5 games straight. They might be coming in as contenders now. I don't know, if that's what the case is going to be. They're starting to get healthy at the right time. Maybe their defense has gotten better with their defensive line. They could be problematic. But the point that I'm making is that every team in the NFC, there are flaws, right? There's flaws with, I think, every single team. Ours is obviously our run defense. When our offense is clicking, there's nobody that can stop us. However, there are definitely the big holes, especially in the run defense there. Middle of the field is a little bit rough. Sometimes the secondary can be rough, but Jair Alexander is playing amazingly. I think the Packers have a good shot of going to the Super Bowl simply because I think that we can compete with any team in the NFC. There's not a team that I look of like, wow, let me put it this way. There's not a 49ers team this year. The 49ers in both games last year, they were the better team. Like, they were just better than the Green Bay Packers. Like, we could play them 10 times, 9 times out of 10, the 49ers are probably going to take that game. I don't think there's a team like that this year. And I think because of that, the Packers have a good shot of getting to the Super Bowl. Once they get there, then you start looking at the AFC. There's some good teams. You have the Steelers, who struggled against the Cowboys. You have the Chiefs, obviously. The Ravens are, give or take, you have the Bills. But I think this year in the NFC, and you could argue the NFL as a whole, there isn't a world beater team that you're like, wow, they're really, really good. You could make the argument about the Chiefs, even though they struggled against the Panthers. But because of that, I like the Packers' chances, and I think they're right up there as one of the best teams in the NFC.
Tom, who is the front runner MVP right now?
My man. Did we see how Russell Wilson played? It's Aaron freaking fracking Rodgers, and it ain't even. That's it. I don't care what the media says. I don't care that Russell Wilson never got a nomination or any votes. I don't care about none of that. And Russell Wilson's a very good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But it's my man, Aaron Rodgers. You know what? Throw Devontae up there. Devontae Adams has been on another planet too. But I think you have a good argument with Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers as your like 3 front runners.
Imagine if Rodgers played that game that Brady played against Saints. I mean, how the media would talk about it, like he's washed, he's
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But it's Tom Brady, so we have to be very gentle. We have to take care. The media can't bash Tom Brady. No, he's our good special little boy. So we have to sing him to sleep and sing him lullabies and make sure he has nice warm milk. No, yeah, you know what? That's fine. An angry Aaron Rodgers is a dangerous Aaron Rodgers. So you know what? Just keep pissing him off because he's just going to keep destroying you.
That's right. Aaron Rodgers, frontrunner MVP. For me, it's very clear. I mean, no doubt. No doubt.
Oh yeah.
So, talking about our offense, we talk a little. I mean, we have 5 players, important players, starters going to contract here. But we are seeing Carl Leslie playing an All-Pro. He's by far the best center in the NFL. By far, you can see other games, other centers playing. You have Aaron Jones, you have Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is playing very good. So, in our ranking, you should prioritize David Bakhtiari first, then Carl Leslie. How can you, in your head, do you do this distribution between the 5 important players who are going to contract here, are playing contract here?
Yeah, and that's tough too. And I think one of the one thing that kind of gave me hope was when David Bakhtiari was out, who's arguably the best left tackle in the league. When he was out those past 2 games, the Packers' offensive line was still very good. You know, you have Elton Jenkins, who has been phenomenal this year. The guy is so versatile. He could go all over the field. You know, that's been incredible. Billy Turner has turned out to be a really, really good free agent signing from a couple years ago. Struggled a little bit last year, but has really come into his own. And even guys like John Runyon, who we wound up drafting this year, have looked really, really good. They've kind of fit right into the offense. So, you know, David Bakhtiari wants to be the highest paid left tackle in the league. So that's going to put him at $22 million a year because he wants to beat Tunsil over in Houston. Yeah. So, you know, I think you're put in a tough spot. I think you might have to sign David Bakhtiari just because you're really, I think, you know, that offensive line could really take a step down unless you are willing to draft another left tackle or, you know, someone on that offensive line as your first pick, you know, in next year's draft. But as you know, it's usually a pretty tough transition from college to the NFL in terms of being an offensive lineman. So I imagine they're going to go with Bakhtiari first. I have been saying for a while that Corey Linsley, you know, is one of the most underrated players on this team. You know, you don't know that you have a good center until you have a bad one. And I think just the consistency that he has been playing, the durability that he's had, you know, I think that he's a phenomenal player and he needs to be a priority. He needs to get another contract. After that, things get really difficult. I don't see them keeping Jamal Williams unless they get rid of Aaron Jones. If they get rid of Aaron Jones, maybe they re-sign Jamal Williams to a cheaper contract because obviously he's going to be less expensive than Aaron Jones. And listen, I would love to keep Aaron Jones on this football team. I think he's a phenomenal player. He's a pass threat. He's obviously great in the run game. I just don't know if they're going to be able to afford him. I honestly think that that's what it's going to be, flat out, that they're not going to be able to bring him back. And again, that's not even looking at a guy like Kevin King, who when he's on the field is really good. But if you're looking at it just from a stability standpoint, I think you have to look at Bakhtiari and Corey Linsley are the top 2 guys that you have to re-sign. And anybody else after that, while it would be great to keep them all, I think the priority's got to be on your O-line.
Probably. Hey, I found here the audio of our host when Jordan Love was picked, his reaction. It's Portuguese, by the intonation of his voice, you can realize how much busy he is. I will try to put here on the microphone.
I gotcha.
Can you hear?
Yes. That's phenomenal.
It was like no, and some swear words here.
Yeah, you know what? I don't need to speak Portuguese to understand that was an angry man. I don't. That translated perfectly. I got the no real down pat. I was like, perfect. I didn't need a Google Translate for that one.
And after
it's
that,
it's a lie.
It's a lie. Go to hell and this kind of stuff. Okay.
That's great. That's fantastic.
So, Tom, we are going to open to some questions from our viewers. Então, galera, quem quiser perguntar aí, mesmo sem superchat agora a gente vai falar. And I have a game to play with you. I will try to guess how many items do you have of the Packers there in your scenario. If you get right, you pay me a beer in Green Bay or New York when I got there. All right? Someday.
Okay. I mean,
I'll try.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know how many Packers things I have. We'll try. I mean, it's become a disease.
All right. I think you got 40.
Like total everything 40?
In your scenario. I mean, yeah, everything. When you are live streaming, sometimes it's different things. So 40, 50.
Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to do a quick count. All right. So just within this view, you're saying?
Yeah.
Just in this screen.
What I can see.
Okay. So what you can see, I mean, there's 26 hats.
No, oh my God.
There's 26 hats. I mean, there's some over there. So technically they're not in view. I would say, in view, you're probably close with about 40. I'd give that to you. That's pretty darn close. Yeah, I'll give you that one. I'll give you 40. I'll buy you a beer.
Yes.
Now, in this entire room, there's a lot. It's an unhealthy amount.
Okay, Tom, we have a question for you. So, what is your time? Are you okay?
Yep, we're good.
We have more 10-15 minutes of time here, so nice. He asked you about how is to be married with a Vikings fan.
Yeah. So, my lovely wife Jade loves the color purple, and that's that. So let me put it this way: this is how much of a fan Jade is of the Vikings. I'm sitting on my couch last night watching a little bit of Monday Night Football, and Jade is already up in bed. And in the middle of the game, she just yells out, "Did the Vikings win yesterday?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Yay." That's where she is with her fandom. So
okay.
It's tolerable, but there are a lot of fans that send her Vikings merchandise. Papa Grossi just bought her a bunch of Vikings things for her birthday. So, that's the hardest part, that I have to, see a lot of Vikings memorabilia in my house.
Bruno Cruz asked you, how did you feel, or how did you make the decision to quit your job as a teacher to live with just YouTube and podcast?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Bruno. So, last year, what wound up happening was I left my other teaching job to do another teaching job. And what wound up happening was they flat out lied to me about what the job was. And it wasn't a standard teaching job. It was a nightmare. And so I was kind of left with this decision. And we were still pretty small. The podcast was not making a lot of money. And so I literally was just sitting there and I was like, I'm miserable here. It was a 90-minute commute one way. So I was spending about 3 hours in the car every day to go to a job that was really bad. It was a really, really bad job. And so I was like, you know what? What we'll do is I'll substitute teach. It won't bring in a lot of money, but I'll substitute teach, and I'll just go as hard as I can with podcast. And what wound up happening was, so I quit that job, and I was subbing for 2 weeks, and another position opened, like a different job that was it was still like 45 minutes away, but they offered me a job. It was only for a few months, and I was like, you know what? Sure. I'll take that job. I'll take it just to because the podcast just wasn't making enough money for me to survive. And so what wound up happening is I took that job, and then COVID happened. And so, my plan was okay, because the podcast, we hit 5,000 subscribers in the NFC Championship game, actually, the night after. And so it's okay, things are going well. The draft happened, which, went really, really well for the channel, not for the Packers, but for the channel, it went really well. And so the thing was, and I had to make a decision for this upcoming September of, okay, what do I do? Do I do the podcast and that's the only thing that I do, full time, and that's it? Because the only concern that I had and my wife had was, what if football gets canceled? Because if football got canceled, I'm screwed. Because I don't know if you've noticed, this entire thing is about football. So it would have been pretty difficult for me to really do anything. So because of that, I wound up taking another teaching job. So right now, I'm working about 90 to 100 hours a week because I'm teaching still full time and I'm doing this full time. We have done at least 5 days a week with content since last August of 2019. I've not missed a day. So we're doing 2 full-time jobs right now. I think the possibility of actually just doing just podcast is it's close. It's getting real close. So I'm very happy about that. And I still like teaching. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy teaching. Teaching during COVID is not great, but I still like it. It's just a matter of, where am I going to be the happiest? And 2, I can't keep doing 100 hours a week. I've done that for nearly 2 years now. And it's exhausting. So, I think it's just a matter of, we'll take a look at where we are at the end of the season, where things are, and we'll make a decision from there.
Nice.
Great. Arthur Hager asked, how is to work with Ryan Grant? You are...
Yeah, it's funny. Right before this, I just finished the podcast up with him. I was just editing it. It's awesome, man. Ryan Grant is an awesome individual. He's such a nice guy, and we have so much fun. The podcast that we recorded today, we were laughing nonstop, and he's just really a cool guy. And I think that it's cool for me, obviously, as a fan and someone who watched Ryan Grant growing up. It's a really, really cool opportunity. And, the more opportunities that kind of get thrown my way, I'm incredibly grateful that I have a podcast with Ryan Grant. That's not something I thought I would ever say. And, it's really, really cool.
Nice. Andre. So
I can read this one.
Oh, yeah.
I got this one. I can do this one. All right, so do I imagine myself covering the Packers for broadcast? How would you handle the situation if you had to put it to end packet? Ooh, these questions are good.
Yeah,
these
it's
are good.
2 on 1, right?
Your fan base is on it. These are great questions. I'm telling you, they're bringing it today. Listen, you did your research. It's not just generic questions. Yeah, we're rocking right now. Let's go. All right, so. Great question. Do I see myself ever working, whether it's for the Packers themselves or some kind of broadcast media in the future? Here's the thing. So after my first year of doing Packcast, my first episode of my second season, I interviewed Mark Murphy, the president of the Packers. And it was a really, really cool experience. And it was really, really awesome. A couple years ago, I was able to do it again. I went to Green Bay, interviewed him again. Amazing guy. I had a great conversation with him. And it was at that point that I kind of sat there and I was like, if I keep it, and this was a few years ago, obviously, before we got successful, if you want to even call this success. It came to a point where I was like, you know what? That would be pretty cool. However, what I want to do is, and the way that I always describe this is if you view the Packers as a tower, right? Like that they are this major organization, you know, they have millions of fans all over the world. That's going to be pretty difficult for me to like be banging down the doors and like trying to be like, hire me, give me a job. That's going to be really difficult for me to do. So instead I said, okay, I'm going to build my own tower. And if it winds up working out where like the Packers give me a call, you know, we'll kind of wait and see. I think when it comes to the second part of the question about like, you know, would I ever end Packcast? I think if you asked me like a few years ago, I might have been like, you know, like if you go work for the Packers, I mean, like, yeah, obviously, you know, who wouldn't do that? But I think that, you know, what YouTube allows me to do, and this is something out of all the things that I've done, I think that the most proud I've ever been is looking at the community of people that have like become such a staple of this podcast. And it's the same people whose names like I see every single week. It's the conversations that we have. It's the live streams that we have. You know, they're 3.5 hour live streams during a game, right? So like you get to know people, you see people, and it's their generosity, and it's just like kind of just the connections that I've made with them. To give that up, I don't see that happening, to be completely honest with you. You know, maybe there'll be opportunities where I could do other stuff in addition to this, but you know, it's crazy. I mean, like you doing my intro, like what is like that's crazy to me, like that, and it's still like hasn't hit me. I think because like I am in New York. I'm not anywhere near Green Bay, Wisconsin. People are not coming up to me on the streets and being like, "Oh my God, you're like that doesn't happen." So, you know, my students know who I am, and that's it. But like I think, you know, there if I was offered any other job, there would have to be a way that I was still able to make like to still do this, to still interact with the community. Because like that's a part of it. Like I just don't want to give it up because it's been a lot of work, but it's just grown into something that's just so freaking awesome, and I love it.
You are talking about that, and Tabata Silva here, follower, Packcast makes my day funnier and happier. So
that's awesome. Thank you. I saw Kirsten in there. This is definitely better than the repeated Q&A questions. 1,000,000% of just like, how'd you become a Packers fan? And just like, what's your second favorite team, Tom? And I get that every single week over and over again. So yes, this is 1,000,000 times better than those questions.
Thank you. So Tom, our time is over.
Kicking me out.
No, our time, like our two here in Brazil, best. Your final thoughts here.
Man, it was really nice meeting you. You're a really nice guy. I'm proud to have this conversation with you, and I hope you're the best and keep doing this great job you do for the Packers community and for the fun community too.
Thank you so much, guys. Honestly, like this is probably one of the most fun podcasts I've ever been on. So I really had a great time doing this. Your fan base is awesome. I've gotten a lot of messages from your fan base over the past few days when you announced it. So yeah, it's so cool. And I appreciate you taking the time and having me on.
I want to thank again, because to have a guy like you here in our podcast, it kind of gives us a recognition here, very far from the United States and from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I know it's very important to us. Really, it's hard.
Really important.
No, it's a great day. That.
It's a great day for the Brazilian Packers fans. Really great.
Yeah,
day.
It's really important. Believe me.
Listen, you know, it's one of those things that people ask me, like, you know, like, how do you do this? And, you know, it's doing what you guys do. You make good content, you do it consistently, and that's it. Like that, there's no secret sauce. There's no, you know, like secret tips to success. It's just working at it. You know, you guys have obviously an entertaining show here. You have a great fan base, and you just keep doing what you're doing, and you know, we'll exchange beers in Green Bay.
Yeah, that's
cheers, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
So we wanna you hear more times, then.
Absolutely.
Okay, can we count on this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Então é isso, galera. That's it. Can you make the final call here? The last words for now, our podcast.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.
Go, Pack, go!
Go, Pack, go!